Recording now. Wake up and Spoken Poetry Podcast with soda pop music and the Simic Mage. Will Louth. And Spoken Poetry Podcast is back at Ultra Flat Black. It's soda pop and Bill. Hi.
Hi.
So what do you guys want to talk about?
I'd like to talk about our many crimes that we've committed over the years.
Well, that's actually not the show for this because I have the other job which would tell you not to commit
Okay.
crimes. So, and I always have a hard time describing what is soda pop music because it's so unique. How would you guys describe? I should ask Bill to describe soda and soda to describe Will and see how that goes.
Oh, God.
What do you think? How would you describe soda?
Soda is one of the most eclectic gentlemen I think I've ever come in contact with.
Yeah.
And it shows through his musicality. I've been in a lot of musical projects, and he challenges me and stretches my jazz brain more than most. So I really do appreciate him for that.
How do you describe Will?
Will is, how do we put this? He's a sexual dynamo.
Jesus Christ.
World famous for his drum playing abilities, inimitable in every way, and he can do a really great flam paradiddle.
I don't even know what that means. I'm afraid to ask.
Wait, no, it's not. It's just it's
He'll get into
it's
that
a snare
later.
rudiment. I mean, if you want to find out, sure, I'll do one. But Soda makes me do that all the time.
But you guys are so great together on stage. I mean, I've seen you several times, and you have such a chemistry. How did you get together, and how is it that you're doing what you're doing?
Let's see, where did we met at
the Zodiac.
At Zodiac's open mic when Zodiac was still around. Which, if your listeners and viewers are in the Colorado Springs area, they might remember Zodiac pre-pandemic was one of the premier venues of the city.
Hosted by Miss Andrew Stone.
Yeah.
But I moved here about 8 years ago from Ohio with Kevin Pounds. And some viewers might know who Mr. Kevin Pounds is. Kevin Pounds. But we were in a couple bands, but notably most known around town as The Short Term until as of recently. But Soda and I met because Kevin and I went to open mic there, and Soda saw us perform, and if I remember correctly, just asked if I wanted to play with him a couple times, and I haven't stopped playing with Soda since then.
As of recently, is this still? Did something happen with this? Is it still going on the short term?
Oh no, that ended a few months ago.
Oh, I did not even realize that it ended. I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's quite okay.
Well, how many bands are you in now? Are you
I'm
just doing soda pop music, or are you doing other stuff?
I'm in 3 currently, including Soda.
Only 3.
Only 3.
Okay. What are the other 2?
I'm in Moth Season, which is a newer project that includes Stormy. She's our vocalist and main songwriter, as well as a bass. Well, it's like a tenor guitar. She plays tenor guitar. It's wonderful. Rhythm section. We have Dakota notably from the Sun Beaches. He's our bass player, and also Stormy's husband. They're married. They're wonderful. I love them both very much. On guitar, we have Sam Erickson from We Are Not a Glum Lot, actually, and then I'm the drummer. And then I'm also in Girl's Girl, and that also includes Andrea Stone on guitars and backup vocals, and Alpha the Musical on main vocals.
Keep track of that. That's going to take over. That's a lot of things. Well, let's talk a little more about how the interaction is with soda pop music. How does the writing and the producing of the music go with you guys?
Oh God.
Very well. It goes very well.
It normally does. It's very fluid, honestly, most of the time.
Yeah.
Soda does write some songs and comes with ideas to band practice when we have them, but a majority of the stuff we do come up with is just sometimes very random and off the cuff. We just go on tangents during practice, and we're like recording it, and it sounds cool, and we'll use it later. Yeah.
How, do you divide up based on types of instruments or lyrics, or do you both just kind of do things back and forth, or how would you describe your writing process?
I mean, when I'm writing a song, I will generally start out with chord progression or a melody of some type and build it from there, and then I will come to Will and say, make this better, and then he does.
I notice your lyrics are sometimes a little, I don't even know what word to use, different. I guess it's like you think you're going one way, and then you throw a little kind of spin in there.
They're very abstract.
Yeah. What is your kind of motivation for kind of lyrical writing?
I like to. My idea with art is that you want people to feel something that they didn't feel beforehand, and sometimes that means opening up the lyrics a little more to allow more people inside. So that's why there are certain misdirections and things of that nature in the lyrics. I don't know. A lot of the stuff I write comes from the heart, but it's open to interpretation. People take what they want from it.
I noticed that listening to them, and a couple of things I've been listening to a lot. I listen to Non-Anonymous a lot.
That's good stuff.
And Lightning in a Bottle. I'm kind of going through those 2 songs back and forth a lot, because they really, those are perfect examples, I think, of listening to the lyric and saying, what was that?
Yeah.
And then thinking. And that's what I love about it, is you challenge people in a way. I mean, is that kind of is that a word you would use, challenge people to think in a way?
It challenges me constantly.
Yeah.
That's a very good word to use for something.
Alienate is another good word. I like to use.
I don't know if I will. I mean, sometimes I'm like, I don't know, that sounds harsh, but it's nothing. Think about it. I don't know is there something I'm missing that was really controversial? I know sometimes your words.
I don't think there was anything controversial. There was, I think there was a lyric in one of our songs where we spilled some secrets that the military wouldn't want us sharing with the public, but they got over it.
They got over it. I don't know. I might cut that part out just because you don't know who's going to take things and not understand jokes.
We signed an NDA, so we can't talk about this. Can't even bring it up. What are you talking about?
I don't know, but how long have you been doing the same styles of music, or have you kind of changed over time as far, well, why don't we start with Soda? Like, how have you gotten into music, and what types of music have you done over the years?
Oh, man, I've been playing since I was 13. And when I was 13, I was very into angsty, upbeat, sort of punk type music. My first band was called Telepathy, and we very much tried to be edgy and fast and angry. I feel like I've mellowed out a bit since then.
And would you say, like, how long have you been doing the same kind of performance that you've been doing normally? Like, is that, how many years back have you been doing this kind of thing?
Well, soda pop music started in, I want to say 2014. So a couple of years before Will moved to Colorado Springs, and it was just acoustic, kind of awkward, trying to find my place in the music scene. And as it turns out, I don't fit in too well with the music scene. I ended up making a lot of friends in the comic scene, actually. And those guys actually inspired me a lot in terms of banter and the way we present ourselves on stage, I think.
Yeah, and I did notice one thing. Sometimes the artist scene can be a little bit cliquey.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I notice there are people sometimes go much too into their groups saying, I don't think any of us are doing it on purpose, but it just seems like that happens. I mean, I don't know what point I'm trying to make or what question I have to follow up, but how do we stop that, I guess, would be my question for you, since Will is friendly to everybody.
More clicks until they all converge.
Yes.
Genuinely, I really am not sure how to fix that, but I do see what you're talking about, and not just in per se the music scene either. I see it in every art scene around the community, and I've had conversations with people throughout the different various arts about these things, and it honestly just more or less boils down to semantics, or they're not okay with certain things, and that's fine, that's okay. But it does tend to create a policy where you see shows or events where it's only like the same performers on the bill, and that's fine, that's okay. But to me, like where I'm from, like Kevin and I were a 2 to 3 piece blues punk band. And we were playing with heavy metal, death metal bands, and the craziest like pop punk bands. They're like people that we should not have played with, and we were not a part of that scene at all. But like genuinely back home, every scene was included. Nobody made it weird. Like if there was anything weird, we just had a communication or talk about it amongst everyone.
Notice, I know with me, despite my little podcast, talking to people thing, I can get very shy. When I go out to a place, you've probably seen this, I often will go to a table and just, kind of sit there because there's something that I'm inside that makes me feel like, I don't want to bother everyone.
Yeah, same, yeah.
And then I'm sure I've missed out on friendships because of that. But it's not to be snotty.
No.
Or to say I'm too good for you people, that's why I came to your show and I'm sitting here by myself. It's just something in the brain happens, and I think sometimes we tend to go to just someone who seems exactly the same and nothing different, and we all miss out on experiences.
That is usually the case too. Yes.
Sometimes we miss out on being murdered because of that, though. So
that is also true to some sense.
You weigh it a little bit.
It's another thing. Well, speaking of experiences, why don't we talk about the experience of Will and getting into music? Do you primarily, I've seen you do drums. Is that your only instrument, or do you do other stuff too?
That is my only thing. I am a percussionist through and through.
Why? Why drums that you love so much?
I honestly don't know where it started. My mother claims I used to just beat on everything growing up. And that's usually the story of how most drummers start, is they just can't stop tapping on stuff. But growing up, I actually was the artist of the family. I did a lot of painting and drawing and stuff. My sister was the musician. And about the age of 13 to 14, I got really into music heavily because I got, obviously teenage years are hard on some of us. And painting and drawing just wasn't cutting it too much anymore. So I got into music, and I found some really crazy videos of The Who live from like 64, 68 on. And Keith Moon was, I have never seen anyone look so happy and so relieved and just themselves doing something like that. And in that moment, that's when I knew I wanted to do it. But unfortunately, we were poor, so I got drumsticks. And my first bout of my career was air drumming and learning just from that and the Guitar Hero, which is hysterical. But
you could actually learn from that.
yeah, no, you actually, it was very helpful. But I do have at least a year of marching band and jazz band under my belt, and I taught myself how to read sheet music and everything like that. So that was rough. That was actually really hard, especially when we got into like concert band, because that going from like marching band sheet music is very straightforward, and then you go to drum set music, it gets a little bit more complicated, just a little bit.
Now, I noticed you used the phrase jazz drummer.
I am mainly a jazz percussionist, yeah.
What does that mean?
It's just the genre of style of playing. Obviously drumming, it's just like guitar or singing, and all musical aspects are different genres that you can either feel what you're hearing or how you're playing it, or like just in the time signature or the chord progression, or however, it's very signified of that genre and that one particular thing. And mostly, I put a swing to everything. I'm a very swingy guy. I'm not a straightforward rocker, as some might say. So I'm very much a jazz, straightforward guy.
You know what I think would be a cool? Could you like demonstrate like the difference of this is jazz drumming versus, I don't know what you call non-jazz drumming, or what the term would be for like a regular drumming, like what the difference would be?
Oh yeah, that would be pretty simple.
Why don't we do that?
Yeah, I could do
Let's do that.
All right, yeah. I could do that.
Ooh. All right, so we're back, and why don't we do that little demonstration? What would be like a example of a little like riff or something with like a jazz versus maybe non-jazz?
All right, so jazz, that just like any other music that spans decades in different forms. So like you can go from bop to big band to swing. There's multiple different thresholds, but usually when people think of jazz, they think of loosey-goosey, but it still has a good path, and you always land on the one. Usually jazz is in 3 or derivatives of 3 time. So you can go 7/4, stuff like that, really weird stuff. Rock is very straightforward. So instead of having that like vibey, swingy feel, it's just
I also notice that you don't have the like extra big drum sets, like the crazy like a zillion different things.
Yeah, no. This is what I rock. I'm a very minimalist guy, and actually a lot of people that play on my kit tell me they get a little claustrophobic because I put everything very close to each other. Like even my tom and snare are touching my knee when I'm playing, and it's mainly because I like everything to be in a wrist movement of where I need it to be, so there's no real exertion of force. Because the real reason people get tired and get really just exhausted halfway through the set is they're doing a lot of this, reaching and moving. And if you limit that, and you're there's really not a lot of energy I'm exerting by just flicking my wrist to the right a little bit, and I like that a lot. It's very nice.
Do you do the same set for all the different bands you perform in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And what's the point of having the extra big stuff? Is it just for other more unique sounds for different kinds of setups, or?
It's different sounds, but honestly, it boils down to personal preference and what you want to get out of your drum set. I could get octobans, I could get a bunch of rototoms and little chimes and bells and a gong and stuff, but I can make do with this. I make all the noises I want to out of what I have here, and I can make some really weird noises out of this. You just have to know how to use the stuff you have to make it sound great.
Speaking of making noise, shall we do some more music?
Let's make some noise.
All right. Hey, I'm gonna record for this discussion. What are we playing? What are we gonna do? What are we?
I don't know, but
Put a lot of pressure on it.
look, how about we play I want to do a guy.
Oh wait, you mean that part up?
Yeah, I made that part.
Okay, I guess we'll
That's gonna be loud.
Thank
stare at each other like this. I'm just gonna step out of the way and do this for the rest of the show, I think. All right, now that we have, I don't know who has won that staring contest.
I blinked a while ago.
I think we both won.
Well, we're all winners here on the Smoke and Poetry podcast. We were showing off. I went to one of your shows and I won a beautiful painting. You do all kinds of fun stuff besides the music. What is it? Why don't we tell people what is a soda pop music experience like and why everyone needs to experience this?
Will?
Oh, it's a lot of ridiculous banter. Usually it's very off the cuff and unscripted, and so ask the weirdest questions, and also I give the most extreme responses sometimes. And then our music is really interesting too. It's a really good time. And you get to finger paint the entire show. And who doesn't like finger painting?
You can use brushes too, it doesn't
Well,
have to
that's
be finger
it, but,
painting.
like, yeah, finger painting is an
You
experience.
forgot to mention that we are the best band in the world.
I mean, that's debatable.
Well, you are the most fun duo I can think of.
Thank you.
And it is so much fun going to your shows because you really get into the music if you're in the audience. I mean, you're not just sitting back there. At least I'm not anyway.
God, I hope so.
But actually, that does lead to another question because you do things a little different because you do the drum guitar duo. You don't do the bass or the other instruments when you do the performances. Why do you do it in the way you do?
We don't play well with others. You know, we're from the streets, and you know what the one thing about us is we don't get along with nobody.
This guy.
We had a bassist one time, beat him up, threw him out of the room. Couldn't be here with us.
But it is a kind of a unique sound. I mean, what is, musically speaking, is there some kind of different kind of unique things you're trying to do without the bass when you do the performances? Or?
I think it gives us more room to really just tote that line of what we normally do. It's a little bit more freeform at that point. When you add more people to the mix, you kind of have to be a little bit more uniform and on. And when Soda and I play in that regard, it's a little bit more freeing of an experience because we can just look at each other and just mess around for 6 minutes and just give each other a weird look. It's like, okay, we're going back now, and we'll end the song, and it's cool. But when you have 7 to 8 to even 4 people on stage, sometimes that can be a little difficult, and you really just have to practice how it is, exactly how it is, all of the time.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
I've noticed on the recordings, on the music you've released, there's some other instruments though, between bass and other. They get their horns in one. Where do all these other instruments come from?
I'm actually not a part of those recordings at all. That's
Oh, okay. Well, I'm asking you.
You are in spirit,
in spirit, yes.
which is the most important part. No, I just like to play around and try to see, what sort of soundscapes I can make when it's not just limited to 2 people. Because I think the music lends itself to a larger band setting. I just think it works better with just 2 of us. I think we get the feeling across a little bit more sincerely.
On the recording or the releases, I'm using my terms wrong. Like the songs you've released on, like the Spotify and all that. Who does all those other instruments? Are you doing all the instruments? Are you do?
Yeah, that's me.
You're doing.
also-
So you're doing. Okay. How many different instruments do you perform?
I play a few. I'm similarly to friend of the pod, Ferret, not Parrot, Ferret. I play most stringed instruments. I can usually kind of figure out. Guitar is my main instrument. Bass is a secondary instrument, although I play bass like a guitar, so not a bassist in that regard. I understand percussion to an extent as I started music playing drums in band. Didn't get as good as Will though, so I gave that up. And yeah, a little bit of piano, keyboard, synthesizer sort of deal.
I can't keep. I've lost count. Are we over a dozen?
That's 3, I think.
3? Well, then you just
It's
kept throwing
than
more and
three.
more in.
No, it's more than 3, but he plays a few. But everything you do here on those recordings is so fun.
And that is amazing that you can do so many different things. Has it been since you were doing music as a kid that you were doing multiple instruments, or did you pick up other things later?
I picked up as I went along. Bass is very easily translatable from guitar once you understand what the frets are. Even the tunings are the same, unless you get weird with it. And piano is something I started picking up in high school. I'm not an accomplished pianist. I can't play any classical pieces. I taught myself everything I know on piano, but I understand it. So.
How long have you been writing music?
Oh God. Since I was a young boy. 14, 15. So it's been 20 years now.
So you've only, I'm guessing, released a fraction of what you have?
Oh yeah. I've probably written hundreds of songs and released maybe a third.
A third.
Or those are the only good ones.
No, there's probably multiple good ones you have not released. Is that a problem? I know it's a problem for a lot of artists that they're afraid to release some of their great stuff because why? Can you answer this question?
Can I answer this
Yeah,
question?
why is he afraid to release more?
I think it's not really so much a fear, but if you kind of leave your audience wanting more, they might come to shows to hopefully experience different things.
It's a good point, actually. There's some strategic reasons why not to release even your best stuff, I guess. Is that something like you kind of think about this, like timing, and you're like, what to hold back, what to put out, kind of thing? Possibly.
I'd like to contradict you there, Will. It is
Let's go.
100% fear. I'm very scared of the public and their opinion of me.
And you know what? I can't. Sometimes I'm not even sure if you're completely being straight or if you're joking or not.
Most
How
of
much
them,
is-
I don't know what it either, so don't ask me. He
Cut
gets me
to this
sometimes.
day. You got to come to the
I've
show.
known this guy 8 years now, and he still gets me. I'm just like, really, what?
Yeah.
Soda, come on.
And it can't be. I do notice with a lot of brilliant musicians, I know they. I mean, maybe I shouldn't use the word fear all the time, but it does seem like people are. I don't know what other word to use. They have great, amazing stuff, but then they go to the covers, or when they're performing, or if they do something, they're not going to put it out as a release for anyone to see. Why is that a thing where people who are so ready to get out there and show themselves on one hand, on the other hand, sometimes we don't want to show something.
You're a poet, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna answer your question with a question.
Ooh.
Sometimes when you're writing a poem, or I should say, have you wrote any poems in your life, because you perform them, I've seen videos,
Yeah.
where you have been like, this is really good, but it could be better. I don't think I want to read this in front of people. And you have a few tucked away somewhere.
Sort of. Sometimes when I write something that's overly depressing or personal, those are the ones in particular that sometimes I don't really want to get up here and talk about
And that's fair.
sad stuff. So that's the primary reason for me anyway. Sometimes, I may want to work on something more. It's the same thing for me, I think.
And in some regards, it is a little bit of fear, but mostly I would feel like it's a perfectionism thing sometimes too.
Yeah, that's the word.
You really want to make sure that what you're working on is perfect to your standards. And yeah, there are a lot of times where Soda and I have showed people stuff we're working on, or Kevin and I have, or the new projects I have, and everyone's so elated. They're like, this sounds amazing. But internally, we're all like, it could use this. We really need to fix this part here. It's not there yet. Not yet. Almost. Not quite. Not quite.
Well, I think you guys are there with everything I've heard. It's so great. Shall we show off something else great, maybe? Or?
Sure. I would like to draw attention to these paintings, though.
Yes, absolutely. Let's do that. Because they're fantastic.
Wonderful art in this place.
Very much so.
Yes, we've been talking every week about Creepy Sweet Studios with Lita Kish, and this is perfect because you had some spontaneous reactions when the camera was not running about how amazing this is.
I think they're fantastic.
Really good use of negative space.
And you have appropriate art terms that I don't even understand about how great it is.
I don't even know what negative space is.
Me neither, but it's beautiful, and these are, you have puzzles within puzzles here. And you can look within and look details, and you find more and more. So this is fun for the kids.
And you can buy this online, or do you have to come in person to buy this?
You have to, well, you can hit up either Lita Kish at Creepy Sweet Studios, and we'll have a nice little written thing down here somewhere. I don't know if I'm pointing here, or it's going to be up here, but somewhere. It'll be written down. And you can come to Ultra Flat Black. Every month, a new artist will have material up here, and we got the great Halloween spooky stuff for you guys. Come get it while it's in season, or get it after for next year, but get it. It's really good.
But seriously, get it.
All right, speaking of get it.
You've been working on that.
I have.
It's good.
Very good.
Yeah. Thank you. Nailing it, Will.
Or rolling, so whatever you want.
All right.
too good. What is that one called?
Warm side of the door.
It is very warm. What any particular where'd that one come from? Wrong side of the door.
The title or the song?
Both.
The title came from a book by Jason Pargin. And I thought it fit the song pretty well because the song is about like having friends who you feel like you've become alienated with and you just feel like you're left outside and you long to be on the warm side of the door, but you're stuck on the other side.
I relate to that very much. You know what else would be cool? Maybe we could show people all this device stuff that you got here. What is it that you're playing and your setup down you got here?
This is a guitar. It is a
Ooh.
Fender Stratocaster. This is my amplifier. It is a Fender Frontman. And down here is my pedal board. I have Electro Harmonix Holy Grail. That's my reverb. So it sounds like I'm in a big room. I have a Memory Boy from Electro Harmonix that gives me like a delay, so it's like a whoop, 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 kind of repeating sound. I have my Big Muff, which is distortion, makes things sound crunchy, and a Ring Thing, which makes a bunch of weird noises. And then I have my girlfriend's tuning pedal on here as well, because she left it there.
And you have a really cool setup where you can pretty much just take this anywhere and you don't need equipment in a place or anything really.
No, it's pretty quick to put together and take apart.
And by drum standards, maybe we can talk a little more. And since one thing I always have wondered, I've noticed with the jazz, there's a lot of foot action.
There is.
What is the foot action? What it's different for you for I guess jazz apparently.
Where did your shoes go? Oh, I got these ones they slip around the pedals too much when I wear them to play, so I have to go barefoot. I'm kind of a non-traditionalist when it comes to like that kind of style of jazz playing. That I actually picked up from Jimmy Chamberlain from the Smashing Pumpkins. I love the Smashing Pumpkins. But he more or less uses a constant motion on the hi-hat. Typically in jazz, you want the hi-hat going on every 2 and 4, or essentially where the snare would hit in the rhythm. So instead of like rhythm like that, I would. Mainly just there to accent that snare, but I can't do that. I like the constant rhythm happening. It keeps me stable and in track.
And it's how many? And it's a setup of 4 drums, 2 cymbals.
Yes,
Is that what
this is technically a 4-piece. We have the snare drum here. It's just a nice little tiny snare. A Sonar AQX Bob Jazz Kit. So the sizes are pretty tiny. I'm pretty sure this is a. Can't remember really the width, but I'm pretty sure it's a 14-inch, if I'm not mistaken, around, or at least 12-inch diameter by at least 6 to 8 inches. So it's a pretty tiny snare. Up here, I have a 10 to 12-inch rack tom, and then also a 14-inch floor tom. So all the sizes are really tiny. And then down there is an 18-inch kick drum, which is arguably one of the smallest sizes you can get. Besides, like maybe you're really going low if you get a 14-inch, but that's one of the smallest sizes you can get for a bass drum. So it's arguably the tinier drum set you can get. And I did have a bigger drum set recently, but I gave that to the drummer at Glitterborn actually, because I'm getting a little old and carrying that thing around is a bit much. So I wanted to downsize a bit.
Well, it sounds like you got everything you need, and it sounds amazing, and it goes perfect with soda pop music.
Now, so your foot size is smaller than the circumference of any of your drum heads.
It is. Yes.
Interesting.
Besides maybe the snare drum.
Is that a choice?
Yeah, you bet.
You heard it here.
Okay. What does that mean? Like, what is that as far as the difference in sizes? What does that mean?
Oh, so different sizes equate to the different tonality, and honestly, the width really genuinely doesn't matter too much. It's the depth of the drums that really matter, and that's what's going to give it like the different tonal qualities that you're hearing, and also the heads you're using and how tight or loose the heads are. There's a lot of different variables to tuning drums and stuff like that, and people always like oh no, it's just the drumming. No, it's a little bit more technical than that. But I'm using like really vintage calf tone heads, and they're not really calf tone, but they're to mimic like old style 1920s or 30s drumming, like jazz style heads. So they don't really give a lot of resistance if you really have to work on like hitting those things, and they don't have a lot of balance to them because there's like no real like rebound happening on the stick because of the material the head is made out of. But if it was like acrylic or like some other polymer like plastic or something like that, you would get more of a balance out of that head per se.
I feel like I'm part of the band almost, like sitting like this.
Welcome in, Mike.
I'm glad you're here for this, Mike.
We actually need a tambourine player.
I don't know if I guess that's one maybe I could learn, although even that, I don't know.
Fine.
I don't know. But anyways, we were talking about trying to find your way in music. And I think you guys are probably the perfect people to ask. Because there's so many like people who are getting into, performing and writing, and they're still trying to figure it out. What would you guys say to people about how did you figure out your niche or where you wanted to be?
I mean, if I was going to give people advice, I'd say, give up, leave more space for us. But if that's not an option, I'd say, be yourself. Be yourself, as Audio Slave said. It's all you can do. Is that a dated reference?
No, that's, well, I mean, technically, yes, there might be some audience members that don't know who Audio Slave is. But regardless of that, I would say, yes, bear on the side of believing in yourself. Even me, it took me a second to realize I even wanted to do this. So don't ever disparage yourself if you find yourself like really having a hard time with it. Maybe just give yourself a little mental break, pick up another musical instrument, pick up something else, and see if you like that more. And you'll know definitely when you have the right instrument. Trust me, it sparks something in you. You feel like a new person when you're with the right instrument or niche, as Mike would say.
And don't sound like anyone. If you sound like anyone else, change it. Do something. You gotta
Find your own voice.
start banging on the ground, and that's new music, and that's what people like now. Is just, and that's now the kids are gonna love it.
The kids are going to do great with that. But don't ever be afraid of art. Is an expression of oneself through and through, no matter what you're doing. Comedy, painting, poetry, music, juggling, storytelling. It's an expression of oneself, and your emotionality, everything you've experienced, is genuinely put forth in that medium. So never ever feel disparaged. Don't ever let anyone else make you feel disparaged for doing what you're doing either, because that can lead to really awful things as well. But always try to believe in yourself and just push on through.
Now, speaking of your full self, I do want to talk a little bit about who you guys are, and I think you should be. I hope you're going to tell us you're also a motivational speaker, because you are amazing.
No,
well, you could be. But what else? What else do you do with your life? I mean, the music's all fun, but you have to do other stuff too, right?
My job's pretty mundane and pedantic. I'm a billing and ordering coordinator for a bath installation company. It's very stressful. 9 to 5 typically, Monday through Friday. You know that fun desk job life. But there's a lot that I do handle, and I talk to a lot of different people, and I have the most extreme customer service voice in the world.
Let's hear it.
Oh God, really?
Yeah, customer. Should I call up and complain about something? I don't know.
Sure. Go
Everything sucks, William. Everything sucks. Fix it, please.
Hello, Mike. This is Will with Colorado Living. I am so sorry that you're experiencing such a hard time with your installation at this given time. What seems to be the issue, and how can I help you today?
Everything sucks.
Well, what exactly sucks?
The stuff's on fire.
My installers caught your house on fire?
Yeah, that's
They're supposed to be dealing with water. Oh my. Okay. I am so sorry. What I will do is I will get in touch with my manager, Miss Laura, and we will jump on this as soon as possible. I promise we will get a team out there to fix this quietly and quite frankly as quickly as possible. I promise.
Mike, tell them we need the fire department.
The fire department? No, sir. We can handle it internally.
I don't think
Because
you
we
can.
were-
You guys
because-
set it on fire to begin
No,
with.
no. We love to use the word handle internally. Or phrase, I should say.
This is the best part of the show, I think.
You're
Well, anyway. What about the soda life? What else do you do to pay for all these nice equipment and stuff?
I drive a truck for a chip company.
What chip company?
I'm not legally allowed to say.
We don't have to name them, but like any do you have any stories of, I don't know what to ask about driving for a chip company. Give us a story is what I'm trying to ask.
Let's see. The other day I was driving along the Interstate 25, if you guys know it. And I looked in my mirror because we got to check our mirrors a lot when we're driving trucks to make sure that it's safe around us. And I saw some guy hit a barricade behind me and he spun his car around.
That's crazy.
It was funny.
Well, you have time to think of writing, I guess, during the drives. Do you think of music and lyrics during those drives a lot?
I listen to a lot of podcasts. I've been listening to your podcast a lot, actually.
Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Well, there's a lot of good stuff to go. So maybe I should, speaking of good stuff, shall we go with some good more music, and I'll get out of your way since I am not going to ruin your band by trying to do something here.
We'll get some tambourine practice sessions in for
Yeah,
you.
Mike, you got it. We believe in you, buddy.
And now, lighting and bottom
You can do lightning.
for
Lightning is beautiful.
the magical number.
too good. Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
This was such a fun time. Thank you to Soda, and we'll check out all of their stuff coming up and check out Smoke and Poetry Podcast. And see you next time.
Yeah, bye. Boy,
Thank you.
boy, 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 boy.